Paul Bennett says, and I'm almost to that official momentum one that you were talking about. Says Mason's nickname should be Perry, making his case he's a 3rd or 4th round trade value. Should Steelers keep him or trade? Should team offer that? Oh, okay. So he's saying Mason should be nicknamed. His nickname should be Perry. I'm not sure the Perry part, but shout out to EJ Perry. Do you remember him?
Yeah, maybe that's what he's talking about.
Hey, shout out to EJ, bro. I was like, all right, EJ, I see you, mate. I see you. But would you trade him or should we keep him? Well, to me, man, I can make a case for both. I definitely can make a strong case for him staying here when you talk about just having 3 quality quarterbacks that can give you varsity play at any point in time this year, especially in a season where we haven't seen any of these quarterbacks have the consistent long-term success that we are accustomed to when we're talking about Ben. When it's talking about Kenny, everything he's done this offseason or in the preseason has been a very short sample size. We highlighted what he did in the game, but it was 8 plays. 8 plays. That's the context we have to remember. We talked about what he did last week. That was the second half. It's just a little bit different. And then when we talk about Mason, even in some of the stuff where he's looked good, it's like it's still small sample sizes. We're like, yo, can you do this for 17 games, 4 quarters at a time? That's going to be the biggest test for all of these guys, Mitch included. Because if Mitch had this, awesome track record of doing that for long spans of time each and every season, he never is out of Chicago. But that wasn't the case. So that's going to be the biggest question mark for all 3 of these dudes going forward. And that's why I could definitely see a scenario where they don't move a Mason because they're saying to themselves, we don't have a guarantee that the rookie's going to do it for 17. We don't have a guarantee that Mitch is going to be able to ball us for 17. Then when you throw in the potential of an injury, the potential of any, it's like, does it hurt you to have him here? It doesn't.
It does not hurt.
It doesn't.
It just makes things awkward potentially. But
Correct.
Mason seems to be playing this pretty well.
And that's the thing. It's like we're not in that locker room to know that dynamic. If it's a dynamic where they're like, hey, man, Mason isn't tripping. Mason isn't going the Debo, James Harrison route of being disgruntled.
He's getting $5 million a year still. I mean,
I know.
You want to improve your career, obviously.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing.
It's not a bad gig in the grand scheme of things, perspective. It's all different, though. It's all relative.
Because you got to think, man, for them dudes, he's like, what's a $5 million when they're giving out hundreds of millions of dollars? I can't get that 100 if I settle for this 5.
100%.
That's the dynamic. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's cool. And I know for like, in certain situations, it's easy to be like, oh, man, dude, it's $5 million. You take that, you good. It ain't chump changing without a doubt. It's definitely not chump changing.
You just want to live up to your potential.
Right.
Really. I think everyone can relate to that.
And that's my thing. Because it was like, man, I had an offer on the table that was nice. But it's like, bro, I know what I felt like I was worth at that time. And it's like, yeah, I could settle for this. But if I feel like I'm worth this, I'm not going to settle for this and be pissed off the rest of my life. And for Mason, I could definitely understand, if that is his case, I could definitely understand that. Because it's like, bro, them hundreds that you saw what they just gave Deshaun. Not saying that he would get that, but it's like, bro, that's $240 guaranteed. Like, bro, what? You know what I mean? And that's the part where you got to be thinking to yourself, you Mason, like, bro, I think I'm capable of getting some of that. At least a 60, an 80 somewhere. So that is the part where I'm like, I don't know his energy. I don't know that temperature right now for him in this competition. But on the surface over from my perspective, I think he's handling it well. He's not being a distraction or a cancer and something like that. So if those things are true, then it doesn't hurt to keep him.
No, yeah, I think it just comes down to the draft pick. If someone's offering a 3rd rounder, I think you jump at that.
That's different. But do you think a team is legitimately going to offer a 3rd rounder for Mason Rudolph? If you were another team, would you?
Exactly. I'd say max 4th.
So that's my thing. I'm like, we love to throw high draft picks for a guy that we don't value allegedly. So if we don't value him, it is not because, these guys are just so much better than him. It's just, we don't value him. So if that's the case, why the heck is somebody else going to value him like that? I just don't get that part of it. We all watch the same tape. I just don't see how he's to that where it's like, you get a 3rd for them. I just don't see. If I'm another team, I'm not giving up a 3rd for Mason Rudolph right now.
What'd they send for Baker?
What was that? It was but they had the contract. It was like conditional. I thought it was a conditional. No, it wasn't conditional 5th in the deal. Because I know they split some of the money though. Cleveland had to take some of that. Carolina took the rest.
Yeah, it wasn't too much for Carolina. Yeah. It was like $4 or $5 million,
right?
And that's what Mason's salary cap is right now. Wasn't it like a 4th round pick?
It wasn't. I thought it was like a 4th or 5th round pick, bro. So and they took on the money.
That's what I'm wondering. If Baker's going for that, then it's like, I guess what's Mason going for? Because he'd be going into a similar type of scenario. Actually, probably a worse scenario. Yeah. Baker at least had a clean competition. He was a former number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
You knew he was probably going to start. Whereas Mason's going to go in a scenario where he's most likely not going to start.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a pseudo competition, but I mean, we're almost done with preseason, so he's probably going to be starting, sitting on the bench, and just coming in the game if the QB1 struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And the only scenarios I see like that, there's probably 3 or 4 teams, like Lions or Texans.
Right.
Who else? Lions, Texans. Those are the 2 right off the top of my head. Seahawks, I guess, too. But they got 2 quarterbacks.
They got 2 quarterbacks, yeah. Lions and the Texans got 1.
Browns, if you're thinking before the Deshaun Watson
but
thing.
Even with the Browns,
they
still
do Mason
got,
Dobbs again.
They got a ton. They got a Brissett, they got a Rosen, they got a Dobbs. It's like they still got their trio that they going through over there, you know?
Yeah. So I would assume 4th or 5th is probably the best we could get for Mason.
Yeah, that's all. I think more so 5th, unless this team is like if one of these dudes get hurt going into this last game, I think it's a different conversation.
So that goes back to your initial point of like, would you rather just keep Mason on the team than having that 5th rounder?
I personally would, because it gives me more peace of mind, especially when we've experienced what a season is like when you lose that, QB1 in any capacity, whoever it is, whether it's Kenny, whether it's Mitch, it doesn't matter who. But when one goes down, now you're literally all eggs in this next basket, unless you have that Mason. But the other dynamic that I just wonder is how does that work when you still have Chris Oladukin? Because
practice squad,
right? But you're not going to keep 4 of these dudes in that room, right? 3 on the active, 1 on the practice squad.
Oh, is that weird?
Yeah, that's a lot of numbers for one position where you're talking about your backup quarterback takes practice squad reps as well. Your third quarterback is going to take some of the reps as well. So it's like, man, how we doing this thing? Like, I get what Chris brings to the table in terms of the athletic ability. And he's the long-term project piece, but it's like, man, we got a lot of heads in here, a lot of bodies in here. And then also by keeping on a Mason, 3rd quarterback active roster, you're losing a position somewhere else. Kind of like the Derek Watt conversation, right? You keep Derek, who else drops off? Also, okay, you keep Chris on the practice squad, that's still going to be 1 spot you're down, and you still already got 3 guys on the active. I just think that that's a crowded, super crowded room, man.
Okay, that's check for reasons to trade Mason then, I guess.
That's all I'm saying.
That's not something that I've ever really thought about over these last 18 years. How we divvying up quarterbacks, backups, practice squad. You know, well, I mean, we've had 7.
Right,
that's the last thing that's ever been on my mind.
Think about it. We've always kept, 2 on the active roster? It was 7 in Dobbs, or 7 in Landry, 7 in Seabatch, 7 in Mason. You know what I mean? Like, we're not keeping all 3 active like that. Like, we typically don't do that. So that's the part where it's like, all right, if we're going to keep 3, now you're talking about keeping 4 dudes on this roster? Like, that just seemed like a lot, man. DraftKings Sportsbook. Y'all know we got major love for them. I'm talking about the top-rated sportsbooking app in the U.S. Safe, secure, but more importantly, Deke, just like you, it's reliable, baby.
Thanks for the compliment.
Come on, man. I don't have to compliment you when I'm just being honest. But we know, man, the season is here, and there is no better way to watch some of these games than by having a little bit of extra incentive to pay attention to it, because we know at times when you invest in some of these games, whether it be same game parlays, single game parlays, player performances and things like that. I mean, it's a lot that you could be paying attention to.
Has them all.
They definitely do. And for the places, because we know a lot of y'all are in, all over the world. But in certain places, you can't use the sports booking app. I get that. But they also have a fantasy football as well, where you're able to bet on those, on particular matchups each and every week, and also have a little bit of fun as well, man. So we definitely want to salute DraftKings for that. But more importantly, y'all need to make sure you're downloading that app. All right. If you haven't done so just yet, download the app. And then what you need to do is this. You got to use this promo code. You know what the promo code is, man?
It's pretty easy to remember.
I think so.
I sit next to the guy. It's
Oh,
Moats.
it's that simple. MOATS. You use that promo code. Your first bet for $5. That's all you got to put a $5 bet in. You're going to get $200 in free bets. $200 in free bets. Essentially, that's free money. So with that being said, you know what to do. Don't waste time. Use the promo code, download that app, put that $5 bet in there, and then after that, go ahead, get that free money and go to work. But, Deke, we also know this, man. At times, some people struggle with this thing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
At times, some people might have some problems.
Right.
Well, as you look on the screen right now, you see some information up there, some numbers you could call, number you could text. But more importantly, there's another phone number up there.
Yeah.
And it goes by 1-800-GAMBLER. I say 1-800-GAMBLER.